Sanbonani. Welcome everyone to the Spreading the Word podcast series, where we chat to wonderful authors and illustrators of books for young minds. My name is Nomakhwezi, and the thing I love most about books is that you get to travel to the most amazing places without even having to move your feet. All you have to do is turn the page of a book. Cabanga nje. Here, we get to meet all the amazing people behind those magical pages in our favorite books. Today we will be chatting with Refiloe Moahloli, who has written 6 books which you may have seen at your local bookstore. These include the best-selling How Many Ways Can You Say Hello? How Many Ways Can You Say Goodbye? Yes, Yanga or Yheke Yanga in isiXhosa. You Are Loved, Know My Name for those teens out there watching, and We Are One, which has just won the IBBY Picture Book Award. Sis Refiloe is passionate about writing stories that bring out the best in the human spirit. Stories where young readers can identify and celebrate themselves in any language they feel most comfortable in. Her books are available at all of these places. Have fun meeting with Sis Refiloe Moahloli. Hello, Sister Refiloe. Welcome to this interview, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me, Nomakhwezi. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. So, I think I'd want to start at the very beginning in terms of this love for the art form of writing and reading. What is the first book in your memory that you remember loving and that stood out to you that you just wanted to go back to and go back to and go back to? What started the fire?
So, The Secret Garden, okay? I kind of was an early read. I mean, The Secret Garden was a novel that I was already reading, and I remember in grade 2 reading it to my class. But I'm not sure exactly when I started reading it because it was a book that was always at home, and I think I read it and reread it, one of those. But yeah, it had a huge impact on me. I loved it, the mystery of it, the discovery of it, everything that happened. So I still remember it so clearly.
Following on from that, what book did you maybe feel you wished you had in your childhood, or you wished, if there was one, that you felt was missing from your world? And have you written that book yet?
Wow, that is it feels like a tough question, but I guess as an adult, I'm able to reflect on it.
Right.
Because what I know now is that when I was younger, there weren't books that really represented me, my life, my experiences, my family. A lot of the books that I remember reading were from overseas. So, I grew up in Mthatha in Eastern Cape. So I would have loved to read a book that is, more relevant to me and my story and validating that story. And a lot of the intention and inspiration behind the books that I write is that the children who read them can resonate with them at a deeper level. I mean, you can still resonate with a book that is, from overseas or whatever, but I think when it's not something far away there, when it's something like, oh no, that's me. You want a child to be able to be like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that a lot through the books that I've shared with kids, particularly when I go to schools. One of the things that always I love is when kids, for instance, how many ways can you say hello? When kids hear, I introduce myself, I'll say, and I speak isiXhosa at home. And then you can just see the excitement in the child. Some want to jump up like, oh, I speak 100% hope. It's just like you cannot. If I were able to actually capture that joy,
right?
And then as we go throughout the book, when another child hears another language, and then when they hear Dumela, it's like, wait, that's me, and I can't even, because the joy that comes from that, and it's the joy of recognition, right? So in retrospect, I think that if I were able to read books, if I had been able to read books that gave me that as a young child, it would have given that layer.
Yeah, no, definitely, because we can resonate with things from all around the world, but it's lovely to also have something that is right here and close to home. It makes a complete image of the world, that I am in the world, that I resonate.
And there's me.
Yes,
and
I'm
then
there's the
in it,
Yeah.
So it's so that's a big drive behind me writing stories for children now.
Beautiful. And that segues beautifully into the next question, because I know from your writing, you make it a point to focus on language, and not only language in terms of isiXhosa, isiZulu, but also, or Sesotho, Setswana, but also in terms of language, of the meaning of language, and how I can say one thing in this language, it means something else in this language. Or if I don't understand the language, what happens when I speak? How do I change those meanings? Or the meaning of our names, the language of love, the language of kindness, and expressing yourself through life. So how has it been tapping into the child in you, if you do that, to be able to put it in a way that is understandable and connects? And how's the reaction been?
Yeah, it's been actually like incredibly healing for me personally, because what I'm doing as I write these books, I'm answering questions within me. I am addressing things that needed to come out to be expressed, and most of it is really like that inner child, really, and hence the ability to tap into that inner child, because I'm not necessarily asking the question of me, the adult who's now 34 years old, but I'm asking that inner child, the one that like, oh, I wish this could have been addressed. And then also observing children now and in the environment that they live in, how society has changed, and then how do we also adapt in the way that we present information to them. So it has been incredibly healing. Every book I've written came from a place within. It came from something that needed to be addressed within me. And it continues to be so. I actually I just submitted a manuscript, I think a day or so ago. And it took me a while.
As it does.
Like, I'm like, after this, I'm sending an email to my publisher now, because what that book did, the one that I just submitted, which I have to be honest, I really struggled with it. And the struggle starts with self, for me, whatever I'm sharing, I have to experience it first. I have, that's how I work, and that's how I write. And the struggle, in retrospect, now I know the struggle was because, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't putting myself through that. So then it was like this, like I really want to write the story, but it's like, so it took a while. But once, like I worked through it, and like now it's complete and it's going for illustration, it unlocked other things for me, and unlocked another story, which I was like, quickly, like it just flowed easier, because like any kind of healing, you can work on one element, and then that element just opens up other things. So it's deeply personal. And then from that, it's also about, since it's helped me so much, how do I share it with others?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and congratulations on submitting that new manuscript. We are excited to read it. But
sometime later this year, you'll see what I was talking about.
Yay! Okay, already soon. The date is nigh. And you spoke about it being handed into the illustration phase. So coming to speaking about that, about the pictures, the imagery that comes in your books and working with illustrators, I'm curious to know how you feel about that process, how it's been so far, how it is now since you're in that phase, how you work together with illustrators to bring the dreams and different images of the people and the experiences together and put it on a page in a way that says what you want it to say, because it's not always just about the words, it's about how the pictures come together with the words, especially in this genre.
Absolutely. So I've had two different experiences when it comes to work with illustrators. For how many ways can you say hello and how many ways can you say goodbye? Anya and I have worked very closely together, you know, so there's that back and forth.
Yeah.
But with Penguin Random House, but for Pan Macmillan, from the beginning it was always different. Where and like I said, it brings different results, but like beautifully so, right? Where the publisher, so I interact with her, and then she's the one that interacts with the illustrator, and so they work more closely together in creating images. But what's really beautiful about that is the power of three. And it speaks to collaboration, where I also get surprises when I see the illustrations, which can be a really good thing, unless it's something that's completely like, whoa, where did that come from? But it can be a thing. Reason being, like, they bring in an element that could have been beyond my own imagination. So what we have between the three of us is then everyone's experiences, everyone's imagination and thoughts and feeling, everything that we are, three people, you know, it's three people's vast experience coming into a picture book. And what a privilege, right? So I really appreciate that particularly with picture books, it's a big collaboration. But even with, I've got some middle grade books now as well, it's still that, you know, it's still that love getting like, oh, this is what, even if I had a picture, and I generally don't go too much into detail into forming pictures because I almost want the illustrator to do their thing. Yeah. Even if I did have picture, I love being surprised by the illustrators, like, oh, that's how you represented this character, cool, you know. I think that in a collaborative space you get so much more.
Speaking about your transformation through the years as an author, what do you enjoy most about growing with your books? Because I think, at least from where I'm sitting, your writing is evolving with your readers, because your readers don't stay at the same age. And going from how many ways can you say hello, to you are loved, to know my name, which is now for teenagers. How is that? And you write poetry, which is mainly in the adult space. So how does that growth experience treat you? How is that?
It's, you know what? It's sometimes so beautiful to see how it all weaves together. So all the stories actually weave together. If you really like take a look at them, they actually all make up a bigger story. Yeah. And if we can take, for instance, how many ways can you say hello, and then take know my name, right? How many ways can you say hello addresses identity as one of the things, right? One of the themes. And if you have a child who started by reading how many ways can you say hello, and now they're 3 years old and they're reading know my name. Know my name is also a continuation of identity. Yeah. But now we go delve deeper, you know? So you started the conversation when they were still, you know, when they were still younger, and somehow that conversation is continuing. And the one thing about children is that, you know, they learn through repetition. so do we as adults. But particularly for children, that's how something forms part of their consciousness. You know, like it's something that has always been part of my life.
Yes.
It's always relevant, and at different ages it'll be relevant in different ways.
Yes.
It's the language and the style and the way that it's done is presented differently. But you'll see that thread throughout. So there's that. But I think I am also, how many ways can you say hello? Came out 5 years ago. So yeah, it's a 5-year-old baby. And that was my debut. And since then, there have been quite a couple of books since. And I have also evolved as a human being, let alone a writer. So the books that I write tend to carry the theme of whatever's happening in my life at the time, whatever I'm working with at the time. So you get to, that's another part of the journey. And you also, and as they grow, I also grow, is basically what I'm saying. So, yeah.
For somebody sitting there and going, I would also like to do that. I'd also like to write a gift for a young person that they can open many years into the future and continue to open other things as they grow older and read more words with less pictures, whatever. But what would you say to them? And how would you speak to them, especially about entering the children's writing world, but writing in general?
Whatever I share from my perspective.
Yes.
And it's very important to be able to say, this works for me and this doesn't work for me. So I'm just to always have that bit of salt. So from my perspective, let's call sharing a story a way of expressing love. I have, and this is also a learned thing, I have seen how important it is when it comes to expression to start with self. So if I'm talking about love and wanting to share love, then I start with loving myself. If I'm talking about wanting to gift others, I gift myself. And what that allows is the very first person that you're writing for is you.
Yeah.
That's your, that's your audience. And if it brings you joy, and if it brings you peace, or whatever it brings, it gifts to you, if you feel it first, then you can rest assured someone else will also feel it. It just makes a big difference. There's a big difference between, oh, I want to write for X and X person because of X and X, because you think they will like it, versus I would actually like this in the world for myself, right? Myself. And then once you actually enjoy the fruits of it, it's like, oh, I would love for others to also enjoy this. And I think that helps in terms of as well the amount of the intent you put behind it, the amount of effort, the passion you put behind it, because that first audience of one, it's kind of like a good guide, and it also helps to not start freaking out because it's like, like think about what will
they say?
Yeah. So first be concerned about what do you say.
Yeah.
And once you're happy, because it's very important, once you're happy, then it becomes easier to share with others. Because as the feedback comes, and sometimes you might get feedback that's like, oops, okay, then you know that it wasn't for that person. But it's still for you, right? It's still for you. But it wasn't for that person, and that's okay. We're very different as human beings. Different things appeal to us. So that just helps in terms of the confidence. Because I think a lot of people sometimes they want to share things, but it's that fear of what will people say and how will people respond. And that fear sometimes can be debilitating. Like you end up not moving. And that's a shame.
Yeah, and to know that you will find your people. You will find the people who will give you the type of criticism that is to make you grow, and not the type that goes, it's not mine. It's fine if it's not theirs, but the people where they go, this is mine, let's grow together. Those are the people who will stick.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you and getting to know the person behind the books that we love. So we appreciate the work you do. Continue shining, sister.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the interview.
I hope you enjoyed that interview about books and reading and children. It's the most important thing to be interviewed about. And I would just like to add my ending to this series of podcasts. It's very hard for me to contemplate a world without books. Impossible, really, but books are so much part of life and so much part of learning and so much part of the day and such fun that I couldn't do without them, for one. But far too many children have to. They live in a world of television where books are served up as work, where they read them to pass a test, and there are 10 questions to endure before they move on and forget the book entirely. We need to change that. Thankfully, there are many individuals and organizations working to do just that. And I would like to say thank you to the Friendship Literary Festival for their outreach program in reading in schools in Friendship Valley, which they've been doing for 9 years now, and the publishers and the sponsors who've made the Friendship Festival and also the children's part of it, Friendship Reading, happen, and to the writers and illustrators who put so much effort into creating books that they hope will interest and affect children and make them able to understand a better part of their world. It's beyond important. It's critical that our children read, and we can't stop trying to make that happen. We have to bring books to children and children to books. Thank you, all of you.
We at the Franschhoek Literary Festival hope you enjoyed that interview. Remember, you can get the books at all of these places. And don't forget to go ahead and check out some of the other interviews with some really awesome authors and illustrators. Maybe one of these days I'll be chatting to some of you. So all the best as you go make magic with a pen, some colors, and a page. Have fun.